Subscribe to Hactually right now for the ultimate shortcuts to the system. I'm Dash, your shortcut specialist, and today, well, we're doing a deep dive investigation into a system that is actively designed to quietly manipulate your every single move. We're stepping into a bright, high-contrast reality where every interaction you have is calculated, where every little courtesy offered to you is actually a potential trap. So grab a seat, get comfortable, and let's dive straight into the code.
Okay, I want you to picture the setting for a second. You're in a bright, incredibly high-end restaurant. You've got these large, floor-to-ceiling windows letting in this stark midday sun. The tables are pristine white. Heavy crystal glasses are just perfectly catching the light. You've just finished a really great meal. The waiter approaches, smiling, and places a sleek black leather checkbook right there on the table. And resting right on top, or maybe tucked neatly inside, are two little white peppermints. Now, you think it's hospitality, right? You think it's just this warm, polite gesture from a kindly staff who wants to freshen your breath before you head out the door. I want you to picture that word, hospitality, floating in the air in front of you like a bright cyan hologram. Got it? Now watch it completely shatter into a million pieces of digital dust, because actually, it is not hospitality at all. It is a weaponized psychological glitch. The exact moment your fingers brush against the crinkly wrapper of that mint, a heavy, glowing cyan weight drops right onto your shoulder with a massive digital thud. You are no longer just a diner, you are a debtor.
Welcome to the rule of reciprocity, or as we call it in the shortcut business, biological debt. Let's methodically break down exactly what is happening inside your skull when this interaction occurs. Look, your brain is a highly advanced, ancient piece of hardware. And embedded deep within its evolutionary code is a survival mechanism that physically cannot handle receiving a gift without balancing the scales. This isn't just some polite societal norm we all agreed on. It's a profound, visceral mental friction. When someone gives you something unprompted, an alarm immediately goes off in your subconscious. You literally feel a physical sensation, a distinct tightness in your chest, a nagging itch in the back of your mind, this almost magnetic pull to return the favor. It's a biological debt that your nervous system absolutely demands you repay. You owe them. And until that social ledger is completely cleared, your brain is going to remain in a state of deep, really uncomfortable tension.
To prove just how easily human behavior can be hacked and manipulated by this physical tension, behavioral economists conducted a massive, deeply revealing study. They call it the Waitress tip experiment. Now, the researchers here, they essentially acted as system hackers. They wanted to isolate the exact variables of that mint drop to see just how completely they could control the financial decisions of the diners. They set up incredibly strict parameters, meticulously tracking the precise percentage increases in gratuity based purely on the delivery method of a near-worthless piece of candy. And what they found? It absolutely stretches the boundaries of logic and reveals exactly how vulnerable our subconscious programming truly is.
Let's look at the exact mechanics of the data they pulled. If a waiter simply drops off the check and gives you one single mint with it, your tip goes up by a marginal 3%. It's a slight bump. The biological debt is registered by your brain, sure, but it's small. But then the researchers changed the choreography. They had the waiter drop the check with a mint and then walk away. Frame by frame, the waiter retreats, but then they pause. They stop dead in their tracks. They turn back around, walk back to your table, look you directly in the eyes, and say with a warm smile, "You know what? For you guys, here's an extra mint." What happens next? The tips absolutely skyrocket by 21%. 21%! Think about the psychological hijacking that just occurred right there. The waiter manufactured a scenario where the gift felt incredibly personal. It felt targeted. It felt like a special favor meant exclusively for you. And your brain's logic centers immediately went offline, completely overpowered by the sudden massive spike in biological debt.
Let's take a slow, deliberate look at the mathematics of this trap. On one side of the equation, you have a 5-cent peppermint, mass-produced sugar and artificial flavoring. That's it. On the other side, you have a $5 or perhaps even a $50 increase in the tip you leave behind. The math is completely, utterly absurd. You are clearing a microscopic debt with an incredibly disproportionate amount of your own hard-earned money. And the crazy thing? You do it willingly. You do it eagerly, just to erase that uncomfortable sensation of owing a favor. It is an evolutionary glitch in the truest sense of the word. And the most dangerous part? Well, once you see the absurd mathematics of this 5-cent mint, you're going to suddenly realize that billion-dollar corporations are weaponizing this exact imbalance against you every single day of your life.
Which brings us to Section 1, the corporate weapon, also known as the free water hack.
Picture a brilliantly lit, impossibly expensive luxury car dealership. Or maybe a high-end watch boutique. The floors are this pristine white marble. Gleaming glass cases hold items that cost way more than most people's homes.
bright overhead daylight LEDs are illuminating everything in sharp, high contrast. You walk through those heavy glass doors, and within 60 seconds, literally before you have even looked at a single price tag, a beautifully dressed salesman approaches you. And what do? They offer you a beautiful, heavy, frosted glass bottle of spring water, or perhaps a perfectly pulled shot of espresso. Listen to me very carefully. Do not take it. I want to describe to you in extreme, visceral detail exactly what happens in the unseen digital architecture of this interaction. The exact millisecond your fingers reach out and touch the cold, frosted glass of that bottle, a glowing, neon cyan holographic shackle snaps out of thin air and locks violently around your wrist with a sharp, heavy click. You are now tethered to that salesman. By accepting that simple, innocent bottle of water, you have just blindly stepped onto a landmine. You have triggered the reciprocity trap.
Slowly, a mental paralysis begins to set in. You are now deeply in biological debt. Subconsciously, whether you actively realize it or not, your brain feels an intense social obligation to the person who just gave you something. Because they provided for you, because they offered you sustenance in this high-pressure environment, your evolutionary programming is forcing you into submission. The rules of engagement have just changed drastically against your favor. It suddenly becomes 10 times harder for you to simply turn your back and walk out the door. It becomes 10 times harder to look them in the eye and negotiate aggressively on the price of that car or that watch. And it becomes almost physically impossible for your brain to just say a flat, unyielding no. You are socially bound. So let's break down the brutal corporate return on investment of this psychological trick. Imagine a holographic price tag floating right next to that frosted glass bottle, and it reads $1. That is exactly what it cost the corporation. But then, right before your eyes, that $1 aggressively morphs into negative $500. That is what it costs you in lost negotiating leverage. They spend a single, measly dollar, and they extract hundreds, sometimes thousands from your wallet simply because you were too socially paralyzed to fight back. This is not courtesy, guys. It is the illusion of hospitality, carefully engineered to mask a vicious, highly calculated power play. So, the real question is, how do we take this glitch and use it for ourselves? How do we flip the script?
Let's move to Section 2, Reversing the Polarity, the anchor gift.
We are now entering the domain of the cheat code. This is where we stop being the victims of the system and start becoming the architects. If you want to hack the system, you have to seize control of the glitch. You have to become the one who initiates the biological debt. You have to be the one giving the anchor gift. But listen, there's a very, very strict rule to this hack. Timing is absolutely everything. You must give the anchor gift before the negotiation starts. Not during, not after as a little thank you, before. If you give a gift at the end of a transaction, it is simply a polite gesture. It has zero tactical value. But if you give the gift at the exact moment you walk into the room, before any business is even discussed, you are priming the system. You are installing the psychological hack before their firewall can even go up. To really understand the immense power of the anchor gift, we must look at the historical proof found in the famous Coca-Cola Psychology Study. Let's really analyze the intellectual density of this experiment, because it's brilliant. Researchers set up a highly controlled scenario where subjects were interacting with a complete stranger. Unprompted and with absolutely zero expectation of return, the stranger casually leaves the room and comes back with 2 cheap 10-cent bottles of Coca-Cola, casually handing one to the subject as a simple favor. Hey, I grabbed one for myself. Thought you might want one too. The researchers then meticulously monitored the subjects to see exactly how this incredibly minor, entirely unsolicited gift would alter their behavior later in the interaction, specifically when the stranger suddenly asked them to buy some raffle tickets.
The results? They are an absolute masterclass in exploiting biological debt. The subjects who received that 10-cent soda favor felt such an immense psychological pressure to clear the ledger that they ended up buying 5 times as many raffle tickets from the stranger compared to the control group. Think about the sheer asymmetry of that transaction for a second. The debt created by the soda far outweighed the actual monetary value of the initial gift. It proves definitively that human beings will massively, irrationally overpay just to erase the deeply uncomfortable sensation of biological debt.
So let me give you your tactical briefing on exactly how to deploy this hack in the real world. Imagine you're walking into a brightly lit modern mechanic's garage, or maybe a highly stressful airline customer service desk. Step 1. You do not walk up empty-handed. You stop on the way and you buy a simple, bright pink box of $5 donuts and a cardboard tray of coffee. Step 2. You walk straight up to the counter and you hand it over immediately, before you say a single word about your broken engine or your canceled flight. Step 3. You look them dead in the eye and frame it perfectly. You say, "I know you guys are having a busy morning. This is just for you."
The very moment that pink box hits the service counter, a massive holographic wave of cyan energy pulses outward, washing over the entire area. You have just forced them into biological debt. Their brain instantly short-circuits. It scrambles, desperately looking for ways to balance the scales for the kindness you just forced upon them. And suddenly, the magic happens. Imagine a massive, glowing digital invoice floating in the air right next to you. Watch as those standard, annoying diagnostic fees just miraculously disappear. Watch as special discounts are suddenly found in the computer system. See those heavy labor charges being slashed aggressively with bright green digital lines.
500. Let that number sink in slowly. Because your methodical, calculated $5 investment in a basic box of pastries just saved you $500 in fees. You took the exact same psychological weapon that the luxury dealerships and the high-end restaurants use against you, and you perfectly reversed the polarity. You used the anchor gift to completely hack their logic centers.
This system is rigged, but only if you remain unaware of the code running beneath the surface. You now know the mechanics of the anchor gift and the heavy, undeniable reality of biological debt. It is time to take back your leverage. Stop playing by the rules they set for you. So the next time you walk into a negotiation, ask yourself, who is holding the mint and who is wearing the shackles? Hack the human. Subscribe to Hactually right now and we'll see you in the next breakdown.